What? Can't find my music? That's not good. It's not good at all. Ooh, I'll be dog. I didn't hook my external hard drive back in after the hurricane. 1 minute. Can't find my music? That's not good. That's not good at all. Ooh, I'll be dog. I didn't hook my external hard drive back in after the hurricane. 1 minute. Can't find my music? That's not good. That's not good at all. Ooh, I'll be dog. I didn't hook my Alright, I'm back. So what I did was I took my external hard drive out when I left for the hurricane. I plugged the wrong one in when I came back. Now I should have my music. Let's try it and see. Bum bum bum. Wrong button. Here it is. There it is. Okay, excellent. Excellent, excellent, excellent. Music is back. Alright, so I was talking, well, not talking, I was discussing / arguing with somebody on the forums. And we were talking about mechs and skill trees and all that kind of stuff. This person was of the mind that the survival tree was the best tree in the skill tree system, and that the firepower tree was next to useless, actually virtually worthless. His mind was that it just required too much investment and just wasn't worth it. No reason to really invest in it. So I thought, okay, I need to come in here and I need to build something from the ground up and go into the skill tree and skill it out and show how it actually makes more sense to go firepower in some cases than it does for the survival tree. And so that's what we're going to do right quick. So I'm stripping this mech down. I'm going to boost all the armor. I've never really cared for this loadout. It's an all-SRM Kit Fox. And while entertaining, it's not really functional. And I just realized I've got stock armor on it. My goodness. How could I have made that mistake? Alright, let's look at hard points. Now it's been forever since I touched this Kit Fox, so I don't even remember what I've got and what I don't have for it. Right torso. Alright, I own 2 arms. I don't have any extra. Oh yeah, this is going to be expensive. Let's look at the torso, please. There we go. Left torso, right. There we go. Alright, so I can get nothing, 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 or ballistic. Let's see, heat, energy. This one is. If I use the set of 8, I get missile, cooldown, missile, heat, and turn rate. Let's just put the set of 8 on for now. Oh, the D is already on, never mind. Left torso is the D. It's the D. It's the D. D, 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 D. I have all D's? That can't be right. D, 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 D. Ah, okay, so it is all missile. For some reason, the legs are still lightly armored. For some reason, I thought that I had swapped an Omnipod out at some point, but apparently I never did. So let's look at the. Let's see. I've got 10% missile cooldown. Let's see. Rate of heat loss plus 15%. Missile heat generation. Let's look at the right arm. I think I got the extra right arms. It was right arms. So the C has 1 energy and 1 ECM. The prime has got a ballistic and a missile. We put the C on here. It gives me the ECM. Ballistic. Ballistic. I'm gonna make this into a machine gun Kit Fox just for kicks. Here's my heavy lasers. Medium heavy laser. Medium heavy laser. Medium heavy laser. Heavy machine gun. Heavy machine gun. Heavy machine gun. Heavy machine gun. Alright, I can definitely go up in my, let's see, I'm going to do large. Maybe large laser, there we go. Alright, now let's do the ammo. Come on, there we go. Yes, it'll just be 29.9. 4 heavy machine guns, 2 heavy mediums, and a heavy large. This should be a fun mech. I can't say that it will be a practical mech, but it should be a fun mech. Alright, now let's look at the skill tree. Alright. So we'll come back to firepower. I always work on it last. For survival, let's see. I'm going to go with reinforced casing. Since I have EMS and no AMS, I'm going to go with shock absorbance. Help protect my legs in case I accidentally drop off a cliff or something. Now this guy I was talking with says survival's more worthwhile than firepower because firepower has too many nodes. Yes, it's true that firepower has too many nodes. They could be condensed down some. But what's important to note here is that your survival tree isn't as good as you think it is. Let's see, you have 10 armor hardening nodes. That means you can get an extra 24% armor. Let's take a quick look back over here at the mech again. It has a total of 40 points of armor to its torsos, center and back, and a total of 28 to its side torsos. So let's say you get 24% bonus. I've got my handy dandy calculator here because I don't really feel like calculating in my head, even though I Alright, and the video's back. So I made a stupid mistake. I forgot, but my on-off key for my stream is the multiplication key on the number pad. So I pulled up my handy-dandy calculator and ran the 24% times 40 points of armor equation. I mashed that multiplication key and shut off the stream. So I'm a little embarrassed by that, but I'm back. And we'll pick it up from there. Alright, but as I was saying previously, so let's say you invest very heavily in your survival tree here, and you get all 10 armor nodes. That's 24% bonus armor, which is going to be 9.6 extra points of armor to your center torso. In other words, 1 AC 10 round. Of course, the side torsos, what did I say they had? Let's look. 28. So 28 is going to be a little bit less. Let's see, this 20%. That's going to be... Excuse me. Pardon the God. Excuse me, that's going to be right around 6 points of armor. I'm not going to run the math on it, but you can assume it'll be roughly 6 points of extra armor to your side torsos. So is that really worth investing that heavily to get all of the armor nodes? Well, it depends. If you're going to go whole hog and invest completely in this tree, that means you're going to buy some junk nodes like shock absorbance. So let's see. We'll look at that real quick. So let's say I'm going to get all the armor and structure nodes. Gotta get, let's see. Shock absorbance instead of AMS, since I don't have AMS. And he was saying he really likes reinforced casing, so we'll grab that too. It'll decrease the crit chance. Alright, so we've invested 33 points into this skill tree, and we've boosted our armor by 24%, like I predicted. Structure's been increased. We're going to round up, call that 40%, make it easier to compute. Your fall damage has been decreased by 50%, and your crit chance is decreased by 8%. Now, what does this mean? So we already said that it's going to be, roughly speaking, 1 AC 10, not even actually a full AC 10 rounds worth of damage to your center torso, and it'll be about 6 points, which is basically medium lasers worth to your side torsos. To get that, you had to invest 1, 2, 3, 4, well, obviously 10, since there's 10 armor hardening nodes, but you also had to invest 1, 2 for shock absorbance. Let's see. So a total of 12 nodes to get your extra medium laser and AC 10 hit. Is that going to make the difference between you living and dying? Is that going to make the difference between whether or not you win a match? Honestly, I don't know. It'll definitely help. It won't hurt you. But the best way to think of it is hit points never increase in MechWarrior. They decrease. So all you're really doing is extending your hit point gauge a little bit so that it can decrease over the course of the match. How it decreases, the speed, where the damage is focused, all of that depends on two things that have nothing to do with this survival tree. The first thing is actually you, the player. It has to depend on how you take the damage. How do you twist? How do you move? How do you tank it? How do you shield it? Do you use ridge lines? Do you use cover? Do you stand there and try to trade? FaceTime? All that's going to depend on you. The second item is going to depend on your opponent. How good is your opponent at focusing fire, concentrating damage, using cover to move up behind you to get those shots? You know, and of course, all this bonus armor that you're getting, you're probably putting on your front. So if he attacks you from the rear, it's not going to make any difference. So in the long run, especially when 90% of the players focus on your center torso, is this really an effective investment? Well, there's no wrong or right answer. It comes down to you. How do you play? What is your play style? Personally speaking, for me, since I don't like to tank on the front line, I like to be more of a flanker and side skirmisher and kind of a striker. This tree makes no sense to me as far as investing heavily in it. It does not help me that much. Yeah, I like having the extra AC 10's worth of armor, but I'm already a light mech, so taking an extra AC 10 round probably isn't going to make that much difference on whether I live or die. If I get focused by a 30 to 50 point alpha, I get focused by a 30 to 50 point alpha. There's not much I can do about that. As far as structure bonus goes, 40% bonus. Let's look at that. Actually, we don't have to because we said it was, 40 points to the center torso? Your structure is always half of your armor. So again, I'm ignoring any quirks on the Kit Fox, which it does have some structure quirks, I believe, already. Take a quick look to see. Yeah, it has some structure quirks, and we're going to ignore those real quick because they're minuscule. 3 on the torsos, 10 on the arm, 14 on the leg. I mean, the place that really matters, your side and center torsos, where most people shoot you, there's no real extra armor there, so we can kind of ignore that for this next computation here. Plus, I don't think that is factored into the percentages. I think that's on top of whatever the percentage is. Added to it, not included as part of the multiplication. So if you have 40 points of armor on your torso, center torso, total, front and back. That means you'll have 20 hit points in your center torso structure. Boosting that by 40%, well, that basically means you're going to multiply it by 0.4 and then add that back onto it. So, excuse me. So 20 times 4 is 80, times 10%, 0.1 is going to be 8. So you're going to get an extra 8 points. Instead of 20 hit points in your center torso on your structure, you're going to have 28 points. So again, not even a full AC-10 round. So if you invest completely in this tree, armor and structure, you're going to get, roughly speaking, not quite 2 AC-10 rounds to your center torso. You're going to get 9.6, you're going to get 8. That's going to come out to 17.6. Is it worth it to invest 33 nodes in that for a gain that will decrease over the course of the entire match and may or may not make any difference whatsoever? Because you can make a mistake, turn the corner, and get alpha by 6 mechs. Well, I don't really think it is. This is a very static skill tree. It doesn't really impact your gameplay. It just provides you a little extra protection for if you wander into an arty strike or something. So I'm going to take all this off over here. And I'll leave it as it is on the right side. I'll pick up some extra. This will give me a slight buff, which is nice, you know, better than nothing. And I'll go to mobility next. Now here we are, mobility. Alright, is it worth it to invest in the mobility tree? Well, let's see how many nodes it would take to get the important parts here. Now, torso yaw, torso pitch, all those things, I don't really consider them to be that important because they give small gains, and frankly, you tend to fight mostly head-on anyways. People tend to corner peek or they tend to charge. You're not really using your torso that much except to shield, where these could come in handy. But ultimately, either you're already moving fast and this is a minuscule gain on top of that, or you're moving slow and this isn't enough to really make that much of a difference. So when it comes down to it, you're going to want the kinetic burst and the hard break. That helps you start and stop faster, which is important, especially for rocking in and out of cover or stopping or changing direction. You're going to want anchor turn to help you turn tighter. This is very important, especially for light mechs when you're trying to corner, trying to maneuver around buildings, fight in the city, etc. You're going to want, let's see here, speed tweak, of course. That's going to boost your overall top speed and is probably the most important skill on this tree. So we're going to go for those. So let's see, kinetic burst, we want hard break, kinetic burst, hard break. We're going to go for anchor turn, hard break, kinetic burst, anchor turn, hard break, anchor turn, speed tweak all the way down. Now let's see, we'll look at kinetic burst, hard break. Let's see, trying to be the most economical here to get just the important ones. Alright, 32, so 1 point less than the survival tree, and we get 10% bonus to yaw speed, which, again, negligible, in my opinion. Yaw angle 6%, pitch angle 6%, again, negligible in my opinion. This is just a few degrees. And mech top speed 7.5%, that's a big bonus. I think that's really good to have. If you're moving, a light mech moving 100 kph, that means you're going to get an extra 7.5 kph out of your mech. I think it's worth it. Acceleration rate is, we're going to round up, call these 25% just for easier computation. Basically an extra quarter, that's really nice on your XLD cell. That helps you start and stop significantly faster. And your turn rate is a full quarter, 25%, which means you will turn in a quarter less of the time that it would take you to normally execute that full turn. You'll turn that much faster, I guess is what I'm trying to say, which is very nice for cornering, very good for light mechs. Those are really actually pretty good skills to pick up. There's not a lot of junk nodes on this path. Yeah, the speed, the angles aren't really that helpful, and let's see how many we spent. 1, 2, 3. We'll just get it on the left side. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 7. So we wasted 7 nodes. So I would say this skill tree from mobility probably has a higher rate of return at this moment than survival. And the reason why I say that is, 1, you spend 1 less node. 2, you have 7 junk nodes compared to all these shock absorbances and other stuff you had to have. Also, the percentages you get over here are, like I said before, they decrease over time. They're a cap, so to speak. They're raising your overall cap on your health without really doing much to impact the overall game. But this These nodes right here will make a significant impact on the game because this lets you move faster, it lets you be in different places more quickly. You start, you stop faster, get out of trouble quicker. You're able to maneuver more effectively, keep up with the group so you don't fall behind, you get picked off. These are very dynamic. They impact the game every second of the game. Yes, these are raising your caps in terms of your top speed, your acceleration, how far you can twist or whatever. But really the important ones here, the brake, the kinetic burst, the hard brake, the anchor turn, the speed tweak, these are going to help you traverse the map more effectively. And movement and speed in this game are life. If you can get cover to cover, if you can fight effectively, keep up with the group, maneuver, get inside your enemy's flank, etc., you're going to be a lot more fearsome of an opponent than the guy who's got an extra AC-10's worth of armor on his center torso or side torsos. Of course, you can get on the arms, etc., whatever, but I mean, the three torsos are really the main parts of the mech that matter. With light mechs, yeah, legs are important, but you know what I mean. So I would say the mobility tree is worth more than the survival tree. Now, is it worth this much of a heavy investment? No, I don't think so. Because if you look at the left, you got a lot of torso yaw, speed, pitch. I mean, of the 7 junk nodes, you've got 1, 2, 3, 4 on this left side. So over half of them are on the left side. Oh, there's one I missed, 5. So there's actually 8 junk nodes and 5 are on the left. So what I would do is I would just come up here and do this. Boom, it's gone. So I just grab all the ones on the right, basically, because I like that anchor turn, so I take that junk node. I grab all of these, all of these. I don't grab these, but I do grab all this, and I come up with this. So the 2% is negligible. Basically, I've got 2 junk nodes. Oh well. And then I've got my top speed is 4.5%. I've got most of the speed tweak, which is nice to have. And then also I've got 21% bonus to my acceleration, 14% to my deceleration, which is nice. And then my turn rate is still 20%. I got most of my turn rate in there. So I have most of the good stuff the mobility tree has to offer with only 19 nodes. I think that is one of the best investments you can make and one of the best ways to use the mobility tree. Alright, jump jets. Really only applicable if you have jump jets. And heat shielding is nice because it decreases your heat, doesn't let it build as fast, which means you don't overheat as quickly while firing and jumping. Vectoring helps you push forward a little bit, so it gives you forward momentum while moving, and that's kind of neat to have. It's really nice for when you're standing behind a building and you jump jet straight up and you're hoping to jump up onto the top of the building to fire and then drop back. Lift speed is probably the most important, I think, because it helps you jump faster. And since we have hover jets, since PGI does not want us to have actual jump jets, this really helps turn those hover jets more like actual jump jets, so you can pop up and down a little better, pop tart more effectively, and have less overall exposure while jumping. And then vent calibration basically increases your overall burn time. Think of it as more fuel. I'd say that's probably the second most important skill here on the jump jet tree. If you compare that with lift speed, that means you can jump very high, very fast. And that's pretty cool. Is it worth all the investment? Well, let me put it this way. This has the least fat of all the trees. There's not as much excess fat here. You don't have to waste as many junk nodes. It has probably the highest rate of return, but it's very selective, and these are not really combat nodes. These are going to help you move. These are the heat shooting will help you fight, and help you get around the map and be effective, sure. But are they really worth all the investment you got? Let's see. That's 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16, 18, and then the 2 on the top and bottom is 20 nodes. Is it worth it to invest all 20 nodes? Honestly, I don't really know the answer. I played around with it. I can't tell a huge difference with some of my mechs, so I tend to ignore it. Operations. This is a good one for keeping your mech cool, but there's a lot of junk here. Improved gyros, speed retention, especially speed retention. Hill climb. There's a lot of waste in this tree, which makes it, in my opinion, not really worth investing in it. But let's go ahead and do so. Let's see if we're going to get the good ones. Heat containment, cool run. These are the ones we want, so let's go for that. Alright, so we've invested 20. That's the leanest of all of them so far, but of the 20, how many of these are actually useful? Well, I'm not really interested in quick ignition. I'm not really interested in speed retention or hill climb or improved gyros. So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4. Actually, that's 5 right there. I skipped over it. 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So out of 20 nodes, 50% of our nodes are junk nodes that I don't need. That's not a very good rate of return. Now, do I invest in this? How do I invest in it? My answer is I really don't. If I have extra nodes left over, or a particularly hot mech, I'll come and I'll invest some. But because this is such a wasteful tree, I tend to ignore it entirely and don't even use it. Sensors. Alright, again, sensors is another one that has a lot of nodes. Some of them I think are junk nodes. For example, I don't really need target decay on most of my mechs since I rarely run LRM boats. And sensor range is all well and good, but with the abundance of ECM and stealth armor and the reduction in the sensor debuffs that happen and all that, I'm not really interested in extending my sensor range all that much. I tend to be very visual anyways, and I don't rely on my sensors as much as I rely on my sight. So I don't benefit as much from that. So overall, what are the important ones here? Well, target info gathering is important. With the sensor debuffs, it takes longer to pick up your targeting data, so this helps shorten that back down. Very critical to have if you're a brawler, so you can pick out your targets and their weak points quickly. Radar deprivation is a good one to have. Protects you from LRMs by eliminating target lock as soon as you break line of sight. Seismic sensor lets you see mechs around you as vibration on the ground. Very nice to have. And if you have an ECM mech, you of course want your ECM sensor suite so that your ECM actually performs like it did prior to the ECM nerf, the massive ECM nerf that hit and pretty much killed off the ECM unit. Since this Kit Fox has ECM, I will have to invest heavily in the skill tree, whereas I typically don't ever invest in it because of the wasted nodes. So let's see how I'm going to do this. I'm going to run right down the left side, and I'm going to run let's do the same either way. I'm going to just do that. I'm not really interested in anything else. I guess since I'm here, I'll pick up Seismic for an extra 2 nodes. It's worth it since there's only 2 extra. Now, why am I doing this? Well, I want the ECM so my ECM behaves like ECM. And everything else along the way is just negligible, whatever it is. I mean, I gotta have it. Unfortunately. So this is gonna take 15 of my nodes, cut into my nodes significantly, in my opinion, from what I typically use. Typically, I ignore this skill tree because I don't like to waste my skill points on all this stuff, since none of these really have that much of an impact. People will argue that the radar deprivation is essential for your survival. I say it's not really. I've been running without radar deprivation for months, pretty much since the new skill tree came out, and I really don't get target locked that much. Part of it is that I use cover very effectively, and the other part is that when I do see LRMs flying, I make sure that I keep an eye on the LRM mech and any mechs that are helping him target, and I try to make sure that I don't put myself in position to be LRM locked. And then if I am, I just move to the nearest ECM mech. Since there's so many out there, I just got to get within 90 meters and I'm good to go. Auxiliary. Alright, this is a very powerful tree with the new, with the way that the new consumables are done. Strikes have a lot of power now. UAVs have a lot of range and a lot of identification, but my personal favorite are the cool shots. These are very potent, help you stay in the fight, stay alive longer, and fire more frequently and more powerfully, which in my opinion is worth more than the salvos and the enhanced spotting and whatnot on the artillery and airstrikes, because those you're basically throwing down smoke, warning everybody that you're going to shoot, and then you got 4 to 10 seconds depending on how you've enhanced them. Actually, I think they just cut it all down to 4 to 6 seconds now. I can't remember what it is without looking. It's been so long since I used these. But it takes forever for them to strike, is my point. And people got plenty of forewarning. When they do strike, they don't really do that much damage. They just sandpaper a little bit of armor off, your 10 points or so you gathered from your survival tree, and that's it. It really counterbalances that. And there isn't really that much of a benefit or an effect. But with the enhanced cool shot, instead of sandpapering armor off the entire mech, you can dump a cool shot, empty your gauge, and then put another 50-point alpha pinpoint into a mech's CT or side torso. That's a lot more damaging. Also, if you are fixing to overheat and you're in a tight fight and you can't really afford to stop shooting, and if you're going to override and blow yourself up in the process, you don't have any way to get around it, you just dump your cool shot and you're good to go again. So I think this cool shot is a lot more powerful than the strikes. UAVs are probably even more powerful than cool shots in a team environment, since it provides all the information a good drop caller needs to know in order to make excellent drop calls to vanquish his enemy. But for solo play and general purpose, the cool shots are the best way to go. So if we're going to get that, we're going to come down looking just like that for just 6 nodes. That's all it costs. I think this is probably, even more so than the junk jets, the most efficient tree, since you only have 1 junk node here, and basically you get 5 good nodes and 1 junk node. And lastly, we'll go to firepower, possibly the most controversial tree, and the one that spawned the whole argument with this guy on the Steam forums, who says that this is probably the most worthless tree. Now, granted, there's a lot of nodes and seemingly a lot of junk nodes, but are they really junk nodes? Let's say I want to get, since I'm using lasers, my laser durations, and I guess really actually all I'm going to want are specialty nodes. I don't have missiles. I get enough ammo, so I don't really need magazine capacity. Let's see how that looks. I want my laser duration, I want my cooldown, I want my heat generation. So we're going to come down here like this. Notice how every node I've grabbed so far is a useful node that directly impacts my offensive capability. Alright, now let's look at that. See where we're at. 46 nodes. Ouch! That's a costly tree, right? But wait. Cooldown, heat, range, duration. Wait a minute. There's not a single junk node here. Not a single junk node. That can't be right. Is it right? I'll be Joe Brown. It's right. Not a single junk node. Is that not cool or what? So what does this mean? Well, I now have, we'll round up, call it 10% faster cooldown. So my weapons now shoot 10% faster than they did prior to this, to me investing in the skill tree. Which 10%, in my opinion, is what you should get as your minimum percentage for having an appreciable effect on any of your stats whatsoever. If you have a weapon that takes 3 seconds to recharge, and you have a 10% faster fire rate, that takes 0.3 seconds off, is now 2.7 seconds. That's very appreciable. Heat, over 10%, we'll round down, call it 10. 10% less heat generated by my guns, which means every time I fire, that's 10% less heat. Again, very appreciable. 12% range. I haven't even invested in all the range nodes, and I got 12 full percent. Holy cow, let's look at my weapon systems real quick. Got this ammo. So my max range and optimal range are 80 and 160, so 12%. We'll round down and call it 10% for sake of argument, easy math. That's going to be 8 extra meters to my optimal range, 88 meters instead of 8. And it's going to be 16 extra meters to my max range, making it 172. That's definitely worth it. What about my lasers, though? Again, max range 900. I'm getting 90 extra meters to my, almost 100 meters to my max range, and 45 to my optimal range. This is big. Doesn't sound big, but it's big. Because when you think about it, these are dynamic skills. These aren't like the survival tree where it increases a cap and then it drops off over the course of your entire gameplay experience in that match. These are skills that every second of the match you're using. You firing faster over longer distances, more damage being dealt, more damage piling up and accruing. Your heat's building slower, so you're firing more. Your laser duration is less, so more damage is packed into each trigger pull for shorter amounts of time, and you're tanking less because you have to have less phase time. That means you're able to get back into cover and take less damage, which is arguably as important as having an extra AC-10's worth of armor on your torsos. In my opinion, this tree is significantly more important than the survival tree. Because if you look right here, for 46 nodes, I've basically ensured that 1, I will not overheat very, very easily. 2, my range has been boosted substantially. 3, my phase time is less, so I'm taking less damage, and because of that, my duration is shorter, which causes that. But also because of the shorter duration, my damage is packed into a shorter interval, making it more accurate, more centralized, and it's just really a kick butt tree. Now we're going to go over and we'll finish skilling the mech out the rest of the way. I don't want AMS because I don't need it. And we'll come through here and skill this out like I normally do. Now I'm going to probably have to sacrifice some stuff, make some hard choices here in order to get the ECM nodes that I need. We'll see. Maybe I'll get lucky. Nope, only 2 nodes left, and I need all of these for ECM. No such luck, unfortunately. I'll leave off Seismic. Make it a little easier. So I need to get rid of 2 and 9. I need to get rid of 11 nodes. So let's jump back over here to survival. That gives me 2 back for 100 nodes. Just need to get rid of 9 now. I really want to keep all the mobilities, but you know what? I'll sacrifice 2 here. I need to get rid of 7. Because I'm running lasers, and it's going to be a hotter mech, I'm going to keep these. Let's go to firepower. Let's see. And this is pretty much bare bones. I'm going to have to get rid of some stuff, though. Alright, since they're heavy lasers, and they're going to be generating lots of heat, I can sacrifice some cooldown. That's not going to be quite as important as range, since they have shorter range, and heat generation since they're hot. Now I just need to get rid of 5 nodes. So the cooldown I can get rid of. Definitely want to keep the durations, again, because they have such a long duration. I really want my cake, and I really want to eat it too. I get rid of that range. I don't really need that one range. Alright, I need to get rid of 3 nodes. Let's go back to the survival tree. We'll take the 3 armor hardenings. I'll leave the skeletal because they give a little bit higher bonus, and the armor just goes so quick. Go ahead, we'll put these back on. I'll take that one off. That one off, that's better. I just need to get rid of 1. Take it from the mobility tree. Get rid of 1 kinetic burst. Alright, there's my 91 nodes, and let's check it out. Cooldown 7.8% bonus, not quite 10%, but still pretty high enough, I think, to make a difference since we're dealing with heavy lasers. They have a very long cooldown. Heat is still 10% reduced, which is big considering the fact that I am firing hot heavy lasers. Range is 11%, that's good, still over 10. Armor bonus is less than 10, still better than nothing. Structure's right at 20% still, which is good. Fall damage is 20%, that's a junk node. Torso pitch 2%, junk node. Top speed is still 4.5%, so I'm still going to get an extra 4.5 kph, roughly speaking, since my mech already moves about 100. That'll be nice to have. Sensor range is 28%, that'll help me pick things up farther out. In my opinion, a bit of a junk node. Target info gathering, that's useful. 20% faster, that's excellent. Target decay is junk. Why do I have radar deprivation? Did I click it by accident, or... Nope, I had to get it. Okay, so I've got some radar deprivation because I had to get it anyways. So in this case, it's a junk node for me because I have ECM. Retention range is also a junk node. Consumable is good. Cool shot, cool shot, cool shot. Those are all good. Strategic shells are junk. Strategic strike duration is junk. I didn't buy any extra over there by chance, did I? Okay, same one, good. Alright, let's see. ECM target range, that's the good one that I wanted. Stealth armor cooldown, which is part of the ECM, I think. Kind of, if I recall correctly, they factored it into ECM. Yes, they did. Alright. Laser duration, not minus 10%, that's big for me. Excel decel is good, turn rate is good. Alright, so mostly positive, few junk nodes, but oh well. And that's pretty much how I'm going to run this Kit Fox. We will see how it works. No effect. Well, that's because some of them, like the machine guns, don't really benefit from laser duration. But unfortunately, it says that anyways, even though I do have weapons that benefit from it. Now to add SP, I've got 57 because I never mastered it, and I'll make up the difference with my refunded SP. Alright, and with that, I'm finished with this mech. I'm going to save the loadout. I did hit apply. Yes, I did. This mech is ready to roll. I'm going to go drop in my good friend Ron Blade here and test it out in the group queue after I try it in the testing grounds real quick. Always do that first. Want to make sure you get your trigger set up correctly. Still there, Ron?
I am, yes.
Sorry for the delay. This is taking longer than I thought. I made some goofs. I had to go back and fix them.
That's alright. I'm just doing some drops.
58%.
Target acquired.
Built a Kit Fox with 2 heavy medium lasers, 1 heavy large, and quad heavy machine guns. 58% heat, firing just the lasers.
Yeah. Wow.
It's got ECM too, though. Oh, and jump jets, I forgot. Just gonna see if I can drill through this cataphlax CT machine guns.
Target destroyed.
Oh, that was so satisfying.
New target acquired.
Forgot to put my cool shots on.
Override engaged.
One more mech and I'll call it good. Let's kill the Centurion next. And again, just to reiterate what I told the guy on the forum, there's no right or wrong way to build your mech. There's no right or wrong way to skill out the skill tree. There's just personal preference. I just think some parts of the skill tree are worth more than
Target
others.
acquired.
And I think you have to make a careful decision on whether you want to use the whole skill tree, parts of the skill tree, etc. I think that to make the decision that a particular tree is worthless and then to dismiss it completely without really stopping to think about it or to consider what it actually does simply because it requires more nodes than the other trees, I think that's a very dangerous mistake to make. One that you will very quickly regret, even though you might not know why.
Target destroyed.
You may not think about it, you may not realize I'm not dealing the damage like I thought I would. It might not really hit you that you're throwing away this advantage, but by simply dismissing it, saying I don't think it's important, I'm going to ignore it, I'm going to disagree with you because I made the decision to ignore it, I think you're shortchanging yourself and stunting your ability to fight effectively. A good mech warrior will experiment, find out what works and what doesn't, and not stop. He'll keep experimenting, he'll keep coming back. What I showed you is how I wanted to get this particular Kit Fox out, specifically for it. That's not how I would kit out, say, my Hunchback 4G or any of my other mechs. It's unique, and almost each one of my mechs is like that. This mech has less survival points than most of my other mechs, but it has more sensor not hit points. It has less survival nodes than any of my other mechs, but it has more sensor nodes than most of my other mechs.
Target acquired.
And ultimately, you have to make the decision as to which trade-off makes the most sense for you. Nobody can do that for you. You have to do it yourself. But each time you do it, you should evaluate each individual tree every time. You shouldn't just go, I'm going to go with the same old, same old. You can have a few cookie cutter preferences, there's nothing wrong with that, but you shouldn't do it for the entire mech, for the entire skill tree. Know what you like, know what you want, compare it to the mech and say, does this really fit this time around? Or do I need to make some changes?
Target acquired. Target destroyed.
I might even use this mech in the dash and dash. This is kind of cool. Alright, and with that, I'm going to call it. Time to go run some of the drops. Alright, ready to group up, Ron?
Yeah, I can drop out of this game that I just died in.
10-4. I'm sorry to hear that you died.
Yeah, anyway. I'm in my Annihilator.
Let's get water. I'm thirsty.
Gonna wind up doing better damage in smaller mechs.
Yeah, I tended to play a little bit better with the lighter ones anyways, myself. Nothing wrong with the bigger ones, I just like the better speed and maneuverability. The better agility, I should say.